Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Golden Astrologer Podcast. This is Deb McBride, and I am with you recording this on April 12th, 2026. It's a Sunday, and I am in lovely Escazú, Costa Rica, sitting on my patio in my garden. And it's late afternoon, and it won't be getting dark for a while, so I'm getting to this a little earlier today. And looking at my big orange hibiscus flowers on my tree and smelling the plants that are near me because the earth smells so good, and the flowers and the trees and everything smells delicious, and I'm holding on to that because we've got quite a week ahead. But first I'm going to make a stop and tell you about last week. And God, so much is happening astrologically and in the world. And I told you last week that we were having that Wednesday, Thursday occurrence where, Mars was finally leaving the end of the zodiac and going into the new zodiac and going into Aries, its own sign, and being at 0 degrees Aries where we had the Saturn Neptune. And I also told you that Mercury was coming out of its shadow finally. And then I also told you that the sun would be its place of exaltation between Wednesday and Thursday. And so, that's a lot of energy, especially as far as the Aries stuff, the sun at exaltation, the Mars going into its own sign in Aries, and so making a real pile of planets in Aries. And, from Tuesday through Thursday, it got very interesting, okay? So Tuesday, I felt very strange, and I felt a lot of irritability. I felt a lot of, I don't want to say it was anger, but it wasn't, now we weren't even there yet, right? So there was a lot of tension, and there was no reason for it because I just got up and I was doing my meditation, and I kept trying to bring myself back to center, bring myself back to the meditation and to the silence and to the nothing, as opposed to this aggravation, static noise that was in my head. But after my meditation, I was thinking, geez, well, what's up with me? I'm really having a hard time with this. Maybe I got to work harder at meditation. Maybe I got to meditation more times a day. And then my neighbor came banging on my door, and she was freaked out by the news. And she's an Aries. And we sat down, and I explained the astrology to her, and I said, these next few days are going to be very intense. And it can be like we're moving into better stuff because Mars is in its own sign and the sun is at exaltation. Mercury's getting out of its shadow. So these things should be good. And so the news got slightly better. And now it's, I'm talking to another Aries friend this morning, and she says, I didn't sleep all night and I saw what's going on in the news. So all of this is weighing on us, and I think things are going to happen this coming week. But before I get to that, let me tell you about what my experience of all of that I just listed was. So I went out of town on Wednesday morning. We went out of town. We went to Uvita, which is in the south of Costa Rica, south of Manuel Antonio and Quepos, and it's like off to a different road, and it's beautiful. It's the southern part of Costa Rica, but it's mid-southern. It's on the Pacific coast. It's with Uvita, Dominicalita, Ojochal, and then before you go further down to Drake and to Pavones and stuff. So this was really beautiful, and we'd been looking forward to going there, my friends. And when I got up on Wednesday morning, and I got up early because we were going to leave early, and we were going to have breakfast out and then get on the road. It's a 4-hour trip. There was no electric. And I woke up in the middle of the night with no electric at, 4 a.m. And I noticed my fans were off and it was hot. And so I just said, okay, well, the electric always comes back on. But when I got up a few hours later, the electric had not come back on. And so I was talking to my neighbors here, and I'm saying the electric's not on. And we're saying, no, that's very weird that there wasn't an explosion. And what's that about? And then I was talking to Monica, who's across the footbridge, and I said, do you guys have electric over there? And she says, yeah, we do. There's no problem. And I said, okay, All right, so then this is, we're off. Something will get solved. It's probably in the neighborhood, blah, blah, blah. And so when we got on the road, Monica, who manages the property on my side for her mother, it was texting her brother and saying, "Can you call the electric company and find out what's going on?" And there was an outage in the neighborhood, and they were sending a team out to it. And then he contacted them, and they said, "You know what? Is it back on yet?" And then I was texting my friends here, my neighbors, and they were saying, "No, it's not on yet." And now it's like, it's 11 a.m. and it's not on yet. And so 12 o'clock, not on. Into the afternoon, it's not on. And it gets to be 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's not on. And we're not finding out an answer, except that they were sending a team out. And when the team was supposed to get here, they had to deal with one emergency first, and then they didn't have enough teams to go out for all the emergencies. So they were coming out here. And then Monica's brother called them again. And she was in this, by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we were going out to the beach to watch the sunset, settle in and watch the sunset there. And she finds out from her brother that the electric company did indeed have a team come out here. And when they got to our electric meters, they found that the locks had been broken. The cords, the electrical cords, had been snipped and stolen. And they said, "We don't take care of this. That's your stuff. You have to pay for that repair. We don't do that." And when he finally got this information, it was late in the day, and she had to scramble to find someone, an electrician, to come over here and work on this because we'd been out of electric for 12 hours. And so I didn't know the story yet, and she's scrambling and scrambling and scrambling. And there it was. It's interesting. Now, if you ever doubt Mercury coming out of its shadow. We're still not out of the water until Mercury comes out of its shadow because we had wrong information. They told us there was an area outage. They told us the electric should be back on. And this can happen anytime, of course. But we had this very strange communication with the electric company, and then there was telling the neighbors, go up and talk to them because they're around the corner. No, wait, don't go talk to them. No, wait, go talk to them. No, wait, don't go talk to them, because she found out what happened. So this looked like Mercury retrograde, but it was Mercury coming out of its shadow finally. And so it was a big surprise when we found out essentially we'd been broken into, and probably some addict had come over and stolen the wires to get $6 for drug money, and because that's all those wires were probably worth. So she got an electrician over here, and he had to work on it while it was getting dark out, and he had to fix it and get it up and running, and he got some of it up and running. It was all up and running, and then half of it wasn't up and running, and this all went from Wednesday to Thursday in the exact period that I was talking about. The confusion of Mars at the end of Pisces, the end of Mercury, but he prevailed and he got it done on Thursday. The end of Mercury, the Mars at the end of the zodiac, all of this, and that's a hot spot now, the end of the zodiac into the beginning of the zodiac. So when Mars comes over that, yes, it's a triggering thing. So he patched it, he fixed it, he put in all new things. So if somebody tries to steal again, it's going to take them a long time to take it apart. In the meantime, we're looking into other measures to fix this. But she and I were I was involved. I was texting the neighbors here and trying to figure out what was going on. And so, it's one of those things. It was very unexpected, and it was definitely something complicated, and that was a complicated day. And then in the world, it was complicated, and it continues to be complicated. And so now, here we are, and we've got a lot coming up this week, and it is indeed a very strange week ahead. And I'm going to take it with you piece by piece, and you're going to see what I'm talking about. Okay, so around the internet and around social media, if you pay attention to astrology, you see people putting up charts of, look at this, and it's a lineup of planets in Aries. And we know we already have a lineup of planets in Aries without what's coming this week. So right away now we have, obviously the sun is in Aries because it's Aries season. And we knew that Saturn and Neptune had entered Aries. And then you heard me just say that Mars entered Aries the other day. Well, now, this coming week, The moon is going to go into Aries, which it does every month, but it just happens to be at this time that it's going. And Mercury is now going to finally get out of Pisces and go into Aries. And I told you that would be coming. Now, back last month or so, I told you one planet at a time was going to move over that point of the Saturn-Neptune. It was going to hit the 0 degrees Aries point, and then it was going to hit Neptune, and then it was going to hit Saturn. And each planet is going to make that shift over those points, okay? So, what's going to happen, what's happening now, okay, is we've got just what I said. Mars is conjunct Neptune, as I told you it would be last week, and I talked a lot about Mars, Neptune, and the insidiousness of it. And there you had someone sneak up and, steal something from our property. Thank God they didn't break in. But they walked in and stole something in the area, the entranceway of our property. So that's, Mars at the end of Pisces. And here I am talking about it, Mars, Neptune. And these are things that we need to be aware of. And this is what I said, be careful, because it's insidious and it could be something that where we're being robbed. Like I said last week, that's a possibility. But when we move into the new week, the moon is in Aquarius now, and then it will go into Pisces tomorrow at 4:55 a.m. And that's Monday morning, the 13th. And then what's going to happen here is kind of unprecedented. So all along this past few weeks, you may have been seeing on social media and the internet this cluster of planets in Aries, right? And so this cluster of planet in Aries is going to be happening this week, and everybody has been like showing a chart like on social media saying, look at this. And what we're going to have is, after the moon is in Pisces, then the rock and roll is going to start. Okay, the moon will finish being in Pisces and go into Aries on Wednesday the 15th. In the meantime, Mercury is going to go into Aries on the 14th at 11:21 p.m. The moon will enter Aries 10:04 a.m. on Wednesday. So that means currently we have Mars and Saturn and Neptune and the Sun and Chiron in Aries. And then as of Tuesday, we'll have Mercury, Tuesday night, 11:21 p.m. And then Wednesday morning, there'll be the moon. And then the moon, what it's going to do is it's going to touch every single one of those planets. So it's going to go first to Mercury, having just entered Aries, then go to Neptune, then go to Mars, then sextile Pluto, which is in Aquarius, and then go to Saturn. So there'll be 11:16 a.m., moon on Mercury, 2:45 p.m., moon on Neptune, 6:08 p.m., moon on Mars, then 10:38 p.m., moon on Saturn. And this is going to be the lead up to the new moon, which happens on Friday. So the sun and the moon are going to align in Aries on Friday, and they are going to be, before they quite get together, they're going to greet Chiron. Now, the sun comes first. The sun will greet Chiron by conjunction, 11:10 a.m. on Thursday, the 16th. This happens every year. Sun comes to Chiron. It's an annual event. The way sun goes over Pluto, goes over Saturn, it goes over Chiron too. And usually that means that there's a healing occurring, because Chiron is the wounded healer, as we know. But the sun going over Chiron, the sun is a healing force. It's the force of vitality and life. And it brings life back to the wound that we have, okay? And we're all dealing with Chiron at the end of Aries. And now it's very unusual that the moon will then go over Chiron 6:34 a.m. Eastern time on Friday morning, the 17th. And then sun and moon meet at 7:52 a.m. And they are going to be together. That's an hour and 20 minutes later, coming together essentially on Chiron, because the moon will only have been there an hour before. So this is a big deal. This is a big deal because the sun and the moon don't necessarily align with Chiron when they have a new moon. Whenever we have a new moon in Aries, it's like, yeah, fresh, spring, air energy. It's Aries. It's a lot of fire. It's like, I'm ready for something new. But this is exceptional because of where we've been with Saturn, Neptune, and because of the condition of the world, and because of the moon touching all of those planets in Aries, this is not as simple as, well, we have a wound and we're going to heal it, and then, we're each going to do our individual emotional homework and then move on. This is everything getting triggered in Aries as the moon heats up to join the sun and then hits Chiron. So, to me, first of all, you got to understand Aries energy. It's fresh, it's bright, it is sunny, and it is hot. And when it touches all those planets, the moon, when it gets to Aries and it's like heated, it's a very strong life force. And if you know anyone who's in Aries and you've seen them get angry, they get angry for a minute and they're boom, angry, and they're done. They don't hold on to it. They're not a fixed sign. They're not holding a grudge. They are like letting the fire out. They're like the dragon. Like a dragon breathes the fire and it's like, whoosh, it's fire. And then it's over. And they're not holding a grudge and they're not mad and they're not anything. So I think that we have to expect that there's something fiery is coming this week, and that there is a wound to be revealed, looked at, healed, worked with this week. Everybody's going to have a different experience of this. And my hope is that for things in the world to not get so heated and impulsive, and that somebody somewhere does something impulsive and really starts the fire, And my hope is that we're going to move past this and there's going to be a healing at the end of the week. That's my hope. And I think we all have to kind of get together and say our prayer, and to whatever we believe in or whoever we believe in or whatever force of nature we think runs this universe, and really get together and sit with ourselves and allow the feeling of, healing to be a pervasive force in our lives and in the world. That's my hope. But because it's a new moon in Aries, normally we expect to be able to light the fire and start something new, a new project, a new life, a new relationship, a new something, a new job, new. And on one hand, that's true. But I think with all this fire and all this moon energy going over these Aries planets, and then the sun and the moon hitting Chiron, I think what we have to do is take that wound that we have, tuck it under our arms, acknowledge it, embrace it, and keep marching. Because Aries is like a marching army, And sometimes when you're wounded in the army or in the armed forces, the military, you have to keep going. You have to okay, I'm wounded, we're going to clean it up and I'm going to keep going. And sometimes you wind up not keeping going and you're removed from active service and you're doing a desk job or so, you got to think warlike energy. It's the military. It's Aries. So I feel like, we are in a time when things are very heated and things can get even more heated, and then there could be a healing or there could be a deeper wound. But I think my feeling is usually there's a more of a healing when it comes to sun and moon touching Chiron. We're all going to feel this. And so I want everyone to be aware of this as we move forward, because this is something that's, I think, is pretty serious and is very intense. And I keep thinking of people online showing these charts, and it's such an image of a stellium, and this is what we call a stellium in Aries. And it really is, this lineup of planets. And when we're dealing with this kind of energy, we are, we have to be driven, but we also have to be disciplined because Saturn is there, okay? And this is a very rare alignment. These things don't occur very often at all. And when I look at the week ahead and we have so much activity in one area of the zodiac, the concentration of that is not to be ignored. And so you too may feel that you are in a very heated place in your life, and you want to light the fire, but then you also have to, be disciplined about it and be structured about it and be level-headed about it, because that's what Saturn asks for. And in the meantime, this isn't all, because what's going to happen is remember Mercury went into Aries, and even though the moon is much quicker and it touches everything on Wednesday, Thursday, Mercury is going to go on to Neptune. And Mercury's going to go on to Neptune, and that may make communications a little bit fuzzy and unclear. And so when Mercury is getting through that, the way Mars is today, there may be some duplicitous things going on with Mercury and Neptune. The messages don't get clear quickly. We aren't moving through things as nicely as we'd like to be. And then, we may have to send messages a few times. We have to make sure that we're heard. And so then Mars conjuncts Saturn on Sunday the 19th at 6:44 p.m. And then Mars, Mercury, and Saturn are all going to be together between the 19th and the 20th. So remember, there's the distance between Neptune now, which is first in Aries, and then Saturn. So the two of them have kind of switched positions. Before it was Saturn, and then it was Neptune. And now it's the opposite, because Saturn's faster. So any planet that goes into Aries, like the moon this week, like Mercury, is going to get to Neptune first, and then it's going to get to Saturn, of those two. So we're going to get Mars, Mercury, and Saturn all together in the same place at the same time between Sunday the 19th and Monday the 20th. That's next weekend, the next time I'm on this podcast. And that's a very powerful thing. That's very big. This is a very complicated, very disciplined, but very complicated few days. And, the best thing we can do is keep going, keep working towards our goals, keep steady, because Saturn's saying we've got to be disciplined. So, we want to get our ducks in a row and make sure everything is coming together the way we want it to, or we need it to, or we're expected to, or somehow, right? And with Mars and Mercury and Saturn together, this is, I think that the Mars-Mercury that was happening, I don't know, a month and a half ago or so, I think that was hard. I think that was hard. I don't think we were really through the eclipse period yet, but it's coming again. The two of them are meeting up again this time. The last time was in Pisces. This time it's in Aries, and now they're meeting up with Saturn. And I'm looking at them next Sunday, all three of them at 7 degrees of Aries. And that's a very powerful conjunction. So what do you need to do this week? You need to be mindful of your words. Be clear with your words. Even with Mercury, Neptune, be clear with your words. Okay? Sit down and think about it first, and then speak. Think before you speak. This can be very harsh energy. This can be energy that says, I said something and I can't take it back. Okay? It's Mercury, Neptune. It can slip out. Like, I didn't mean for that to slip out. I said something and I shouldn't have. This is a time to keep our thoughts very clear and clean. We want to be direct but empathic, because that's Neptune. Okay? So there's got to be empathy. There's got to be clarity. And, we just have to work to be together and stay focused and not be impulsive. This is a very impulsive energy. This is an impulsive energy. This is an energy that says that I'm done. Oh, I'm done. And you could be done, yeah. But look before you leap, and think before you act, and, just try to keep your anger under control, because this could be a very angry aspect as well. Mars is there, So it's asking us to really stay disciplined and focused and kind and empathic and let things go. If you're really wounded, Chiron, then you need to deal with it, talk about it, whatever. But if you are having a spurt of anger, then you need to remember it's temporary. Think of the bigger picture in the world and how things seem a little unhinged right now, and that in the greater scheme of things, whatever is going on that might annoy you, let it go. It gives you the opportunity to change the way you behave towards things and to change who you are so that you don't hold a grudge, so that you don't hold on to things, because that's not the energy of this week. Okay? So if something sets you on fire, remember to just let the fire burn and let it go. Okay? Just express, let go. And, keep an eye out, obviously, for things that could be troublesome in the future. But really, what we want to do is use this energy properly. Stelliums are rarely calm. They are always intense, and a lot happens at the same time with them. So I don't expect this to be a calm week. I expect this to have some bumps in the road, and there may be a little bit of frantic dealing with things, which is normal for when there's a stellium. It becomes, oh, I got to get this done. I've got to get this done, especially in fire. But if you are trying to start something like a new creative project, this could be really good energy for that, right? This could be really good energy for really getting revved up and doing something. But remember the Chiron part of it, that you aren't starting fresh from a new beginning. You're starting with a wound tucked under your arm and you're moving forward. And it may be that wound that is the very thing that you needed to work with in order to get to this next level of your life and your next new project and your next place. It may be that you say, wow, that wound is what propelled me forward. That wound is what I needed in my life to be able to keep going like this and go as far as I have. And oftentimes it is something like that makes us go forward, that helps us heal our lives, that helps us get greatly motivated and expansive and want to create something new, right? It's because we have been wounded. We have been, working through something. And oftentimes something from a long time ago in our world is what set the fire to begin with. And the fire of that wound may be what you're carrying under your arm as you march into battle to do something new this week. And maybe in that respect, when the new moon comes and it enlightens us to the actual role of Chiron in our lives in this week and in our charts, wherever that may fall, when the new moon comes and enlightens us to that, we're going to understand why this wound was necessary to unfold in our lives in a way that is opening us up to the next level of our life. So we achieve something we really want. And sometimes the way to that next big thing in our lives really has to do with the wound that we've carried our whole life under our arm. So that may be what's really happening for each of us this week. So this is an important thing to ponder and contemplate this week under this new moon. So a lot going on, and I think that I'll probably be more present on Instagram this week, on the Golden Astrologer Instagram, so that I can kind of stay in touch and be talking to people about what's happening. Last week I was away for most of the week, so I wasn't really staying on top of things because I wasn't here, and I wasn't in control of my schedule either. So, but this week I think it's important that to be touching base with everyone and really staying connected to what's really happening. Now, if you need support in this time, I suggest you have a session with me, and you can go to my website, goldenastrologer.com, and I have the chicharas in the background singing their song. I love the chicharas. They're so musical. They're so beautiful this time of year before the rain starts. But you can go to thegoldenastrologer.com and book a session. Click book online and book a session with me for astrology, and we can talk about where all this Aries stellium is happening for you. And we can talk about where this is going for you, and maybe you've got some creative stuff that you're working on that need your attention. there's that. Aries is creative energy. It lights the fire, like I said, the flame that starts, the flame of inspiration and creativity. Then, if you'd like a Reiki session with me because you need to sort of clear out the cobwebs, well, then you can have that too and connect with me also on thegoldenastrologer.com and click book online and go for a Reiki session. And if you are interested in talking to me about long-term work, such as expansion mentoring, you can do that in the same place as well, or email me at deb@debmcbride.com, info@thegoldenastrologer.com, one of those. I thank you for listening. I hope that you have a productive, good week that does not get under your skin. I hope you use this energy wisely. And I wish you great success and much gratitude for listening to me in the sounds of the tropics in beautiful Costa Rica. Thank you all for listening. Much love and blessings. Much gratitude to everyone. Have a beautiful week, and I will see you on the internet.